Hey, everybody!
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast,
I'm Frank.
and I'm Diggity Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, there was an excommunication from the Mormon Church
There was.
this week, a high-profile one.
Yes.
It happened.
Yeah.
Kate Kelly.
We talked about her and the pending excommunication.
Right.
We're gonna take a different angle, but we figured we couldn't just not talk about it.
Yeah.
Because then you guys would all yell at us, and we'd be like, "What? We didn't."
Some of you would.
Yeah. Some of you are probably thinking like, "Oh, more of this," but I promise, we're gonna be fascinating.
That's what we do.
It's our job,
Well.
for which we don't get paid.
So it's hard to call it a job.
Well, yeah. It's a self-imposed job.
It's a task.
It's a task.
It's a burden.
It's
It's a burden that we carry.
It's a joy that we have the privilege of participating in.
You never feel like the things you engage in are a burden. Acting isn't a burden that you bear.
Sometimes.
Yeah, right?
It just depends on who I'm doing it with.
I feel that about filmmaking. I'm compelled. To make film.
You know what you've been?
What?
You've been saddled by God with you've been given that load to bear.
Screw you, God.
Anyway,
Why?
well,
Why?
it's tough. It's tough. Tell us a story.
Ooh, excuse me.
First,
That's absolutely terrible.
First, get that whole cat out of your throat.
All right. Well, there is a mountain. Actually, there are mountains, beautiful mountains next to Salt Lake City.
Indeed, we're
surrounded by them. And there's one specific Mount Olympus.
Oh, yes.
That is iconic. It's beautiful. It's the name of some bottled water here in the valley.
Actually, my favorite bottled water.
Yeah, it's really
I've had bottled water from around the world, and yet Mount Olympus spring water is my favorite.
It's very good.
It's true.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful water.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's also a popular hiking destination.
Indeed.
People like to get to the top of Mount Olympus.
It's a tough hike.
Yes, it's one of the hard ones. It's up there with Mount Timpanogos.
It's straight up.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's short, but it's like vertical.
Yeah. So, a group of Mormon missionaries
tried to convert a mountain?
No. Well, they climbed it, and then they cemented an 8-foot flagpole into the summit with an American flag at the top. And at the base, they left a T-shirt signed by all 8 of them, and let's see, the T-shirt said "Go baptized, only Utah Salt Lake City East Mission." I don't know why it says "only," but yeah.
So wait. So
this is a federal crime that they committed because it's federal land.
So wait, you say cemented. Does that mean they trekked cement up to the top of that mountain?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a pole.
And a pole. An 8-foot pole.
Okay, I have to reiterate to you guys, this hike is monstrous.
Yeah, they're 19 years old.
They're 19, they can do anything.
They can do it.
They can do anything. But it's physically impressive that they've achieved this. And also,
they divvied up the cement water.
Did they bring a flag?
Everybody.
What did they fly?
It's a flag, an American flag.
Just the American flag?
The American flag and this T-shirt that's actually, it wasn't at the base of the thing. Looks like it was tied into the, it was like flapping in the breeze under the American flag as well. So a group of hikers went up, sometime earlier this week. And I mean, I'm sure there are hikers up there every single day. I mean, all these trails have people on them every day.
Of course.
So I don't know when these missionaries did it. They must have gotten up at the crack of dawn, or maybe I don't know when they would have done it.
Right.
Because these early morning hikers got to the top and were like, "What?" They hauled away everything except for the pole, because it's cemented, and promptly called the forestry service.
Right. Yeah.
And
as you would.
And so the mission president is, I'm sure. I mean, the fact of the matter is, none of these kids are locals.
Right.
Right.
I'm so confused
And
by this story. Why the hell? Why do they care? Why
they should have a natural, like, respect for nature. I mean, they should have been taught that.
Well, not only
and
that,
for like forestry land and whatnot. But like, I don't know who does this.
Well, and missionaries aren't like traditionally these jingoistic, like nationalist types. They're not the types that are so into their country that, you know, if you don't like it, get out. I mean, missionaries are usually paired with a bunch of foreigners, you know. There's usually several people from outside of the U.S. in a mission in the U.S.
Well, maybe 8, you know, American missionaries found themselves all together, and they were like, well, we got to go do something. This is...
They're also told not to do shit. Like, they're supposed to, like, not cause a ruckus while they're on their mission.
Well, but they're 19 years old.
It's true.
They're gonna raise a ruckus. They're gonna cause problems. Missionaries notoriously cause problems.
It's true.
They don't usually cement flagpoles into tops of mountains.
Oh my God, it's
in
so
an area
weird.
where people are going to absolutely freak out about it.
Well, I'm sure they thought that people were going to be like,
it's so inspiring.
Thank you.
Why had we never thought of this before?
Well, we just didn't have the resources. We just, you know, it's like I was saying, it's a tough climb. And so it would have never occurred to me to hike up a bunch of cement.
Right.
And water
right.
to mix with that cement.
Right.
Thank God somebody was physically able and willing to make that trek.
Finally, the 8 right young men.
Yes.
Were in Salt Lake at the same time. And they were able to do this for.
This is so funny because there's another part of the Salt Lake Valley, towards the north of the valley, that has a peak called Ensign Peak.
Oh yeah.
Which ensign is a word for flag,
right?
And has a big flagpole on it,
right?
And that's what you hike up to is the flagpole. It's not a big. This is not a big hike. This is a little hike.
Yeah.
But but it's a great view of the valley. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, why? We've got one of those. We've got a peak with a flag.
Right.
You wouldn't even be able to see a flag on top of Mount Olympus.
No.
It's too high.
Way too high. It's baffling, Dan. Please do not try to. You're trying to make. I see you trying to make sense of this.
I'm trying to make sense
of it. But the fact of the matter is, had they done this maybe at Mount Olympus, I think Mount Olympus is probably on city land. I think that's probably Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I think so.
They were on U.S. forestry land by being up on top of Mount Olympus.
You said Mount Olympus before.
I'm sorry. Ensign Peak.
Oh, right.
Ensign Peak, I think, is just a city park, isn't it?
I don't know.
Anyways,
yeah, probably.
Because it's right there. It's up in those hills just to the north.
Just above the Capitol.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure that's... But this is... Mount Olympus is U.S. forestry land.
Right.
They committed a federal crime.
Oh, my God.
There are fines and penalties for this whole thing.
They're going to get sent home for this.
They're going to get the book thrown at them at least.
Oh, my God.
So,
well, there you go.
I thought it was a fun story.
Naughty missionaries.
Bad.
I'm going to take us to New York City, where a policy has been in place that bars unvaccinated children from attending school when another child has a disease preventable by vaccination. So, if there's another kid who contracted measles, all the unvaccinated kids have to stay home.
That's a good policy.
It's a very good policy. The policy should be that those kids have to be vaccinated, but they can't do that.
Right. But if somehow...
If there are going to be unvaccinated kids, you have to stay home until we get this measles thing sorted.
I always thought it was a policy that you had to be vaccinated to go to public school.
Yeah, and then there was a whole there were lawsuits about that. Well, there was a lawsuit about this because
no, this is reasonable.
Yeah,
this is fully rational.
Right, you say that, but yes, a whole 3 families filed suit claiming that the policy prevented their kids from attending school, and that's the point. For them is a violation of their religious freedom because their religion says no vax.
So their religious freedom should allow all the kids at the school to be at risk.
Right.
That's what they're saying.
No, their religious freedom. They should, first of all, as a parent who has an unvaccinated kid, if I find out that there's measles at the school, why would I want my kid to go?
First, that's a good one. Well, because you want a faith healing opportunity is what you want.
I think we've stumbled on a new web series. Faith healing opportunities. And every episode ends with someone dying.
Absolutely. It's like Touched by an Angel, but everybody dies.
Touched by a faith healer. Every episode ends sadly. Anyway, so they sued to have their sincere religious beliefs against vaccination be recognized by the courts and to allow the herd immunity to be destroyed.
God!
It turns out that the judge, one Mr. William F. Kuntz.
Yeah,
probably.
say it the right way, Dan. You know how that's pronounced.
Kuntz, I guess, would be proper.
Kuntz is the correct pronunciation.
He declined to allow them to have. He basically said, your dumb religion doesn't trump the immunity of the community.
Good.
So
awesome. This whole anti-vaccination thing has got to go away.
It's so stupid.
Like, it has got to go away. It's moronic.
I get what baffles me is that every time something every time there's something truly good in the world, someone's got to fight it.
What is that?
Someone's got to fight it. I got to find a way to fight. Somebody will find a way. If someone developed a pill that got rid of, all suffering in the world, somebody would be up in arms.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take the pill. Yeah. It's just a government conspiracy to make us all feel better.
Right.
I don't.
Well, you have to have suffering. God's plan, Dan, is that we suffer.
Oh my God! Yeah, exactly. It would be, if she were still alive, it would be Mother Teresa leading the charge.
Oh, she would hate it
against that pill.
Yeah.
She was She was very pro suffering.
She loved suffering.
But the whole anti-vax thing. Vaccinate your kids, folks. It's how we get rid. We almost eliminated several very terrible diseases, and now they're resurging.
And then stupidity reared its ugly head.
It didn't adjust though. Didn't adjust. Well, I mean, there was the one guy who published the now completely debunked. Thank you. Paper. Because he was paid to by the pharmaceutical companies to write this paper that said that the vaccines cause autism, and then a whole bunch of science asked that question and said, "Hey, maybe it does. Let's check it out." And oh wait, no, no, it does not. But
the problem solved. Except that once it's out, that's the problem with these things. Is once it's out there, how long does it take to get it out of the collective consciousness?
Well, the problem is that people become believers in the same way that they become believers about a 9/11 conspiracy or whatever, and then all evidence to the contrary becomes evidence for it.
Yeah, but these are people who have as their poster child Jim Carrey. Right? Isn't he the one who rails against vaccination?
Oh, better yet, it's Jenny McCarthy.
Jenny McCarthy, yeah.
She's the big one.
Okay. Wow.
Because I take the word of a former Playboy model over the word of modern science.
The consensus.
The vast consensus after considered study of science.
Yeah.
Because she has an autistic kid and wants to blame something.
Well, clearly what happened.
Right. He got his vaccination.
Quid pro Proctor Hulk or something like that, right?
You just made up a thing.
Quid hoc pro Snuckter Prickle.
Dr. Proctor and And Dr. Quinn.
Post hoc ergo proctor hoc, I think is the Latin.
Did you say hoke or hawk? I thought
Hawk.
I always said hawk.
Well, that's the dumb Italian that gets in the way.
Yes.
O's are O sounds.
Yes.
So I see foreign anything, and it's always pronounced with a little bit of Italian vowels.
Right. The phrase you're looking for is post hoc ergo propter hoc.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is after this, therefore because of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anywho,
I know what it is. I may not be able to say it.
I did too. What's funny is I did have to look it up because I was suddenly like, what is it? Pergo copter frock.
Snicta Prakash. What's the other one?
Yeah. Anyway. So vaccinate your kids is the story there. Okay, go on. Move on.
Okay. Well, I would like to go to a very serious, and this is actually a serious story.
Oh.
I was starting to set that up, and it sounded like it was not going to be serious, but it is actually serious.
I'll put on my serious face then.
Please do. So, a Nigerian man.
Is he a prince? Does he want my money?
No. That would be preferred.
Okay.
To what happened to this man.
Oh dear.
He has been sent to he's been committed into a mental institute.
Oh.
After he declared that he did not believe in God.
Oh.
He has been committed for non-belief. He lives in the Kano state, Kano, of Nigeria, which apparently has adopted Islamic law. Back in the year 2000, they adopted Islamic law.
Sure.
And so his family, after he admitted to them that he was atheist, took him to a psychiatric ward, and at the Amino Kano Teaching Hospital. And no, that's where he ultimately landed. He was first taken to another doctor who refused to say that he was crazy. There's nothing wrong with him. That's what the first doctor said. And the second one, always get a second opinion.
Oh, sure.
The second doctor said that his atheism was a side effect of suffering a personality change. And so clearly he needs to be committed.
You know what I'm guessing? I'm guessing if Islamic law is in place in this place, they were probably trying to get him committed to save his life. I mean, the truth is,
that's an interesting thought, actually.
I'd certainly rather go to a mental institution than be stoned to death.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how intense they get
in that quite that way.
No. But I mean, the truth is that apostasy in that nature is a killing offense in Islam.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it is in that country. I mean, they may not be able to do that, but they may be able to jail him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Perhaps. Not knowing all the legal situation on the ground.
Right.
Clearly, though, it would be better for him to get out of Kano, or
right.
Kano State, whatever it's pronounced. And I don't know, maybe go to some
Sweden
city. Go to Lagos.
Go to
right?
Sweden.
Lagos. I'm really bad at pronouncing things. That's just what I do. In Nigeria.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't it pronounced
yeah.
Niger,
okay. You're very cute. You're mispronouncing things. It's adorable. No, I mean, this is the thing. Like, send him to a mental institution in Europe, and then they'll let him out. But then he can apply for asylum or something.
Switzerland,
right?
Yeah,
because you. Oh my gosh, can we just airlift anyone who has a sudden flash of reason in Africa? Can we just get him out?
Project Rational,
right?
Airlift,
yeah, exactly. Save the atheists. It should be an NGO. It should be there should be like some celebrity, some very serious celebrity on a commercial saying, every year, 450 atheists die in Africa.
It's just pictures of sad atheists,
Right,
with sad
exactly.
music.
Right.
You get Sarah McLachlan to
Exactly. You're in the
Donate
arms
some-
of the angels. Wait, that one doesn't work quite as well.
Yeah, no.
No.
Anyways, we started to make light of this. This is kind of a serious one.
Yeah, but our job is to make light of things. That's kind of what we do.
Well, now you know, folks, and
Don't.
I would say, yeah.
So there you go. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to an update. Frank Schaefer, I think we talked about this on the show a while back. He was a pastor in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, which I think is outside of Philly. I'm not positive. He presided over his son's same-sex wedding ceremony. He's a Methodist.
yeah.
He's
I
a
remember
Methodist
this.
pastor,
Uh-huh.
and he was defrocked because of it. He literally, he chose to do it. The Methodists do not condone this sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he was depasteurized. He was
Is that possible?
maybe.
Chilled rapidly.
Right? Yeah, exactly. No, he was defrocked from his pasteurization.
Okay.
However, he appealed. Apparently there's a process here. So he went in. He filed for an appeal, and a 9-person appeals panel ordered the church to restore his pastoral credentials, saying that the jury, and of course this is a church jury, not a actual legal jury, but the jury that convicted him of breaking church law erred when fashioning his punishment. So there you go. He was suspended last year for officiating the wedding. The wedding happened in 2007, by the way.
Oh, that's right. I remember that being a weird detail.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
The whole thing.
Anyway, he appealed. His argument was that the decision was wrong because it was based on an assumption that he would break church law in the future, because apparently he refused to promise that he would not do so.
Oh.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's promised now. He must have promised somehow.
what
To
did
be
he
like,
say?
no more. That
He's-
was a one-time deal.
Yeah, he just said I don't know what he said. I mean, frankly, he's rejoining a communion that rejects his son and rejects, you know what I mean? Like, to me, there's still a little
But it's his livelihood.
go be a pastor with a more welcoming church.
Yeah, but maybe he likes the Methodists.
Go change teams.
Reform from within. You know, that whole thing.
Well, we'll be talking about that later.
Yeah. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
That's a concept that we will be going over in some detail later.
Every once in a while it works. Most of the time it doesn't.
I just thought that was interesting. He's back in. He gets to lead his flock again.
Oh,
And his
nice.
son remains married, so everything worked out for everyone.
that is really nice.
Isn't that- isn't that
that's good.
sweet?
That's good.
Wouldn't it be funny if his son got a divorce?
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
See you later.
like a month later, they're like, we hate each other. This is not working.
I met somebody new.
Dad, why did you even marry us? I hate him.
Why did you insist on that? God, Dad. All right. Well, I would like to go to Ho Chi Minh City.
Oh, the home of stuff.
Well, the home of a new Buddhist water park.
Oh,
It's a Buddhist water slide park.
woohoo!
Totally themed out.
Yeah.
All Buddhist all the time.
Wow.
It is
adorable.
pictures.
Oh,
Pictures.
wait,
Oh shit!
wait.
What just happened? I just went into
You just
I went into sleepy mode.
yeah.
How did that happen?
Your computer just suddenly
Okay.
it did not want to show me the pictures.
It was like, no. Look at that! Isn't that amazing?
Who's that? Is that chief sitting bull presiding over things?
Well, okay, something to know about
the Buddhists?
Buddhists in sort of that part of Asia,
Okay.
in Vietnam, right? Is that it's a, I guess, what is it, mystical? It's more, what was
really?
the word that they used in this article to describe it? Animist.
Oh,
It's
okay.
animist. So there's the dragon, unicorn, tortoise, phoenix. These are characters that are running around the park. And so my guess is this face is not like a Buddhist face, but it's more of one of these sort of animist representations of some animal figure.
What we're
kind.
referring to is a very large face, like that's sort of prominently displayed over like the splash pool.
Yeah. And this water park was done on a grand scale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everything, it's all like big slides and big water this, big water that. And they have some wonderful, wonderful attractions. For example, and I'm not quite sure how this fits into the whole, well, it does actually fit into the Buddhist thing more than it does necessarily the water park thing. There's the Palace of Unicorns, which sounds wonderful, right? I mean, what could be wrong with the Palace of Unicorns? Well, if you go into the Palace of Unicorns, it's actually a graphic depiction of Buddhist hell.
Oh,
I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest. There's scenes of torture and violence being inflicted on drug addicts, gamblers, adulterers. It's a hell house. They did a Buddhist hell house.
And it's called the Palace of Unicorns?
The Palace of Unicorns, yeah.
I feel betrayed by that name. I feel like if you're going to call it the Palace of Unicorns, it should be like the happiest thing in the world.
No, apparently it's not a very happy place.
No.
The park itself, it's definitely not very Disney-esque in that a lot of the places, like I think it is in the Palace of Unicorns, there's these dangling stalactites right, that are totally in your way as you're like going through it, and that you can totally like hurt yourself on.
Yeah.
And apparently also the concrete is really slippery. There's also there are 1,500 alligators or crocodiles, I guess probably 1,500 live crocodiles in this crocodile pool. The visitors are invited to feed with raw meat attached to fishing poles.
Wow. We need to go to this place.
This is a destination.
I want to go there so bad right now. Like, seriously, that's amazing. I've never really cared to go to Vietnam before, and now I really, really want to go.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
The beaches are amazing.
Yeah.
From what I hear. Yeah, this it's quite nice.
What's this place called?
It's called the Soi Tien Cultural Theme Park, which is why I really didn't bother with the name.
No, I need to know the name because I'm
Soi Tien
going.
Cultural Theme Park.
I am
in Ho Chi Minh City.
See, now what this does is point out what the Christians are missing. This when the Christians
theme parks?
in the
they do that.
They do theme parks, but they don't do fun theme parks. Like when
this is an actual. This is a water park.
This is what I'm saying.
You look at this thing. It is and it's a nice one.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the Christians, like we went to that stupid thing in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and it was like it had a theme. That's for sure.
Boredom.
But like you see the scenes from Religulous where Bill Maher goes to the Jesus theme park, and it's just all like boring you with Bible stories.
No, they need a roller coaster.
Get some fucking coasters in there.
Yeah.
Get a water. Who doesn't want to go on Noah's Flood log flume?
No, that's what it. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like everybody wants to go on the flood. Like create rides.
Yeah.
Rides, people.
Yeah.
Thrill rides and
want.
water slides.
Yeah. Too much theme, too little park.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. The Christians are dumb. Because I'd be there in a heartbeat if it was a cool water park.
And this is cool in in the sense also that it's dangerous.
Yes.
Like this is for a North American going to a place like this. Apparently they don't have sort of the tort law. That
No,
we have in
those
North America.
stalagmites are going to hit people in the, and you and I, we're no Vietnamese. We're tall.
Yeah.
We will be hitting our heads for
Yeah,
sure.
look at this.
Oh.
Look how amazing that is.
Grumpy King.
Grumpy
something
King with like
guy.
a pagoda and spiders and
Oh, God.
I don't know what all that is.
I love this place.
But it's definitely a wave pool type thing.
Yeah.
Is what it looks like.
Oh, I want.
And then there's some sort of like elephant. This is like a jungle ride at Disneyland.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Exactly. You get into the elephant and it takes you around into the through the jungle.
This looks like the old guy in what's
in like Mulan or something.
No.
Oh no, it's the old the old guy in
little
Kill
Chinatown
Bill.
thing. That one too.
But that's based on I mean it's this sort of stock. Probably, well, I mean, we'll call him Vietnamese because this is in Vietnam, but this stock like old wizened bearded Chinese character.
Right.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I want to go there so bad.
Oh, and there is a temple where you can pray. Right
Oh
there.
yeah, of course there is. And there's a giant mouth, like a lion's mouth that you walk up into. That looks great.
I would say probably a dragon. That looks like a dragon.
Sure, dragon's mouth. Better yet, it's all good. Everything I'm seeing makes me want to go there more. There's nothing about anything that Ken Ham has created that can rival this in making me want to come.
No.
Fuck you, Ken Ham. I'm going to be a Buddhist. So because they
at
have
least Buddhist
have
for a day, so
better
you can hit the
water
slides.
parks.
Yeah. It's more faith promoting.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I don't know. Foreign amusement parks always scare me.
They do.
Sure.
I'm sure you're
They
gonna. I'm like 80% sure I'd get dysentery, just walking through the gate.
The shots required to go to this place, Dan.
Worth it. So
yeah.
worth it.
All right, let's plan it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Have a fundraiser.
We should have a fun. Yeah. Well, I always feel bad about that sort of thing because it's like send Frank and Dan
To Vietnam.
on an amazing trip.
Well, we report back.
Yeah, and it would be amazing reporting.
Yeah.
We would definitely do some fun reporting from that. We need a partner. We need to find a wealthy partner who wants to see some wacky stuff.
Yeah.
So, wealthy person out there listening to us now,
Who loves podcasts?
it's
so
time.
much.
It's time to step
Who
up.
wastes your time.
What waste? There's no waste
on
here.
this podcast.
We are informative. Speaking of informative,
Yes.
also speaking of water in Asia,
one of my favorite things.
who doesn't want to talk about that? Let me take you back. Let me engage your imagination, if you will. I will take you to the city of Varanasi in India, a city that I went to on my travels there. One of the holiest cities. It's considered Hinduism's holiest city, right on the Ganga, the Ganges River, as they
Holiest of rivers.
the holiest river.
Yeah.
So this is a place where pilgrims, Hindu pilgrims from all over the country, come to take what our tour guide called the holy dip.
Really?
Yeah,
That's cute.
they go to what are called ghats or ghats. It's spelled Ghat, but they can make a k sound, so it's ghats.
Okay.
And these are just stairs that go down into the river.
Oh yeah.
And then they take their dip. The men strip down to very little, little sort of,
Loincloth.
yeah, well, or a Speedo type thing.
Oh, okay.
Just underwear or something. The ladies stay in their full saris.
They do?
Yeah.
And they get in that water?
Yes.
Ugh.
But they go
I hope
in,
it's the last time they ever wear that. Sorry.
and it washes away their sins. It's a baptism, just as all of them are.
Right.
Not unique to any specific religion.
Right.
Water is very cleansing.
Clean yourself.
Right. The problem, of course, being, and we've talked about this before, I think we mentioned it just last week, it's gross.
Mm-hmm.
That river is dirty. There is
For being so holy, it's surprising how dirty it is.
well, it's surprising how willing they are to like let companies just pour their byproduct effluents into this river, and just garbage everywhere,
Right.
and all that, and two that I saw just on my little boat tour, of one, maybe 2 miles of the river, 2 crematoria.
Oh, yeah.
One on either side of the Ghats, of the major Ghats. So basically, when you go in, you're guaranteed to get dead people in your hair.
Right.
Guaranteed.
It's
It wouldn't matter which way the river was flowing.
right.
The big one was upriver, by the way. The little one was downstream.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what you want.
Yes.
So the new prime minister of India, Narendra Modi, I beg your pardon, has vowed to clean it up.
The river?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yep. Previous efforts to clean up the river have been, I'm going to call them half-hearted or lackluster. Like, for instance, one of the efforts to clean up all of the dead body bits was to introduce flesh-eating turtles.
Oh, that's smart. I see the logic.
Yeah, it just didn't. You can't. There wasn't enough turtles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot of dead folks.
So wait a second. I thought though that having your ashes dispersed into the Ganges is like kind of a really important thing.
It's a very important thing.
So how do you clean that up?
I don't think not doing that is on the table.
Okay. So this is about the industrial waste.
It's about a lot of things. However, the Modi is seeking the help of holy men to figure out how to do this thing.
I wonder if they could refine their crematoria or their cremation process. Right.
That would make it cost more and probably make it cost prohibitive.
Well, maybe with some kind of, if they're trying to clean it up, maybe a government subsidy. I don't know.
Well,
but I'm saying, you
need to understand the rudimentary nature of this process. These are not big ovens.
No, I know. I've seen video of it.
Yeah, it's just piles of wood and a dead person on top.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of shovel it all in.
Right, but couldn't they? Yeah.
It's anyway. So they are going to try and clean it up with the help of the holy men. Here's what I'm saying: you got millions. This is a country of over 1 billion people, and millions of them, every year, come to the Ganges. Have everybody who takes a dip clean up a bit. Everybody that takes a dip, you got to you got to clean up.
Do all of your ashes have to make it into the Ganges?
I don't think so, but it's not just the ashes.
We're not here to solve this problem for them.
But I think I just went a long way towards doing it. If they enlisted the help of everyone who was just dipping in it, it's your Ma Ganga, your mother, the mother Ganges,
right?
You might as well take care of her.
Right, yeah.
She's a god.
So I actually have a different question about kind of a side question.
Yeah.
So you went there as a tourist.
Indeed, I did.
So you saw all of this sacred, all this stuff happening. People mourning, dead bodies burning, people washing themselves, so forth and so on. What is the tourist situation? How many people are there to watch this whole thing?
There weren't that many white faces. There were clearly some tourist Indians. When we were watching one ceremony, there were people of Indian descent who were from the UK sitting next to us, who were clearly just as much tourists as we were.
Okay. Huh.
But the crowds are clearly pilgrims.
Right.
So there were definitely some white faces, but not many. It was mostly Indians.
Is there a sense of people are like, oh, these damn tourists? Or do they just largely ignore you?
No, I mean, that's the economy of the whole country, right? Like, every time they see a white face, they know money's being poured into the country. So I don't think anyone is like, oh, these damn tourists. They're careful. You know, our tour guide, who is clearly like upper class for India and whatever, and you know, educated and such. He was careful about things. He said he would ask that we don't take pictures of the funeral pyres.
Sure.
We could take pictures of the holy dip of the people sort of, you know, taking their holy dip. But he asked that we not take pictures of the funeral pyres.
Okay.
However, if we had, I think he would have just been disappointed. He wouldn't have done anything.
You'd have to live with his disappointment for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah. I mean, or rather he'd just have to he'd roll his eyes at like shitty Americans or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, it's not. I think they know what side their bread is buttered on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
There is that element of it.
Right.
It supports a lot of the infrastructure. It supports a lot of the stuff.
All right. Interesting.
But I don't know. Certainly everyone was more than happy to accommodate us that I saw. I don't know what they did behind my back. Anyway, I did not. I refrained from taking the holy dip. I did pollute the water.
Did they
though.
offer? Oh, good.
I did.
You contributed.
I contributed to the pollution of the. Well, I had to. Our guide was very sweet and bought us these little like marigold flower things with a candle in it, and you light the candle and you put it into the water, and you make a wish. I don't know what you do. So
what did you wish for?
More wishes.
Oh, that's so boring. Dad.
No, I don't. I didn't wish for anything. I just put a flower into.
Please let me.
I put a flower that's on fire into the water.
Dan's sad little.
I just participated in the tradition. I didn't actually wish for anything. Because, frankly, looking around India, I've got way too much.
Yeah.
I've got plenty. I don't need to wish for... I mean, I could make a wish for all of them, but frankly, one flower in the Ganges is not enough to fix their problems. So
that's so sad, Dan. And strangely poetic.
I am strangely poetic. Mostly strange, but sometimes a little bit poetic. Anyway.
All right. Well, if you'd like to join in
our conversation...
You can do so.
Or scold us for something we say.
Yeah, you can send us an email.
Oh, yeah,
it's a great way to get in touch.
Sure, do that.
Our email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or let us hear your beautiful voice by calling into the show. You can leave a voicemail for us at 424. Sorry, I almost started with the wrong thing. 424-666-8442.
Or another fun way to interact is to go to facebook.com/TGIAtheist and look for us there. I'd also like to do. I've been Twittering just a little.
You've tweeted
just a little. I'm not promising big things over on Twitter, but if you are on Twitter, you can follow us at TGIAtheist.
We should maybe we should have a little Twitter feed box on the website
that gets updated once a week. I mean, that's about the extent to which I tweet.
Sure. Well,
but I'm making an effort. I'm trying to understand what Twitter's all about because I don't get it.
What you guys should know then is that these tweets are obviously, since it's only happening that rarely, these are obviously amazing tweets.
Of course they are.
Amazing.
And of course, there is the website that Dan just mentioned, www.thankgodimatheist.com.
It's a good place to go and talk about, you can have conversations about each episode because each episode is up there and has its own little thing and you can make comments.
Its own post, yeah, absolutely.
So, take us to task or interact amongst each other.
That's nice too.
Right.
I saw somebody respond to somebody's comment with an LOL, in fact.
See?
Interaction.
See what's happening out there.
It's amazing.
Oh my God.
So good.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's take our a patty break.
Yeah, we need one. We need it. Save us, Pat Robertson. Save us.
Hey, this is Lori who says, my husband and I moved into a house a year ago. I'm a strong Christian with unwavering faith. I believe the Lord tried to stop us from buying it at every turn. Everything has been very difficult here. Everything has to be redone, rehung, etc. The last few months, weird things have been happening in the home. I've seen doors open and close on their own. We can't find something and then it appears, and things fall off shelves without reason. What do you recommend? I've prayed and cast it out, but I believe it will take more than one person to make this stop.
I'd sell that house in a heartbeat. I would run to the nearest realtor, put it on the market, cut the price in half, and get out. That's what I would do as fast as you can. If you don't like that, get a bunch of believers to come in there and go room by room and anoint every room, plead the blood of Jesus, and cast demons out. But, man, you're in for a long fight. Get out! There are plenty of houses. Why live in a haunted house?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, the millionaire says,
Yeah.
leave your house.
Yeah. Cut the price in half. Get out of there.
There are plenty of houses.
Yeah.
Just lose $50,000
Yeah.
or, $150,000 or whatever.
Do you have to disclose that the house is haunted?
I would say you're in legal gray area there. If you genuinely believe that that's what it is, I think you're under ethical. You're under an ethical obligation.
Doors are opening and closing. Items are appearing that they couldn't find before.
Right. They had their keys. They're positive that they looked on the buffet, but then they went away, and when they went back, there they were on the buffet.
It's terrifying.
Shh. Get out! Get out!
Why would you live in a haunted house?
House.
Or just get some believers together and call on the blood of Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And go room to room.
But he doesn't seem to believe that'll work.
Yeah.
I think he's convinced that they do not have the exercising power required to keep those doors closed when they're closed and open when they're open.
Well, see, he speaks from experience, though. He's had a struggle or two with demonic forces in his life, and he knows how difficult it can be. Why would you bring that on? Right?
That's a good
Why
question.
would you take that on in your own life? If you could avoid it just by selling the house,
It's valid.
why wouldn't you?
That's a valid thing.
Dear
Oh,
God.
my goodness. Well, there you
Demonic.
go.
Possession of a house.
Just don't live in a haunted house. Just sell that thing.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Well, it's our turn to give bad advice.
Yay!
Pat being our model for this sort of thing. I just realized that me reading these makes me the woman that sitting next to Pat Robertson in
You didn't know that?
I only just put it together.
I knew that.
Yeah, I know you.
Why do you think I didn't want to read the emails?
Because you are sexist against women, and you don't want to be the woman.
And against Dan, you be the woman.
I'll be the woman. Here we go. Michael wrote in and said, I had the Below beer. He sent us a picture of beer. It's the Epic Brewing Company's Elder Brett.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Which Epic is a local beer brewer.
And not so local anymore.
That's true. They're moving.
They have operations in Colorado now. And,
But
and
they started.
They distribute all over.
They started here in Salt Lake City. Anyway, he says it was quite good. The name in the picture didn't really hit me until I noticed that Epic is out of Salt Lake City. Now, the name is Elder Brett. It's a reference to a missionary, and the photo has a little missionary guy on it.
Oh,
it's
fun.
really cute.
Cute.
Or the little picture, the little image.
Uh-huh.
Then there's Wasatch with their Polygamy Porter, a favorite name among the craft brew crowd. I was working in Salt Lake City once, and a local coworker who was very practicing Mormon went with me to the Wasatch Brewery store. I picked up the Polygamy Porter T-shirt, which said, "Take some home for the wives." It cracked me up, but he didn't seem amused. Just curious if using them and their sordid past pisses off the LDS folks, and if any of those places have been sued yet.
I don't know on what grounds they would be sued.
Right. No, there's been no repercussion. It's a time-honored tradition here for those of us not Mormons to sort of poke fun at things like polygamy and stuff.
At just Mormonism in general.
Right.
There's an annual theater event
Right.
called Saturday's Voyeur.
Right, based on it's a spoof of a Mormon of a Mormon theater event that was called Saturday's Warrior, and it was a very uplifting and heartwarming
Oh, indeed, yes.
thing. But yes, Saturday's Voyeur Voyeur is a send up of is a yearly send up of
Whatever crazy
that
and zany
year's
happened
local
in
politics and
Mormon shenanigans.
Mormon shenanigans is exactly what it's about. So no lawsuits. I will say this: Utah's getting good at alcohol.
Yeah, that's true.
If you haven't had Epic Beer
Epic is really good.
amazing.
Yeah.
If you haven't had, by the way, there's also Five Wives vodka.
High West as well.
High West
for whiskey,
was-
and they do a vodka.
I was just in Los Angeles and asked a bartender, saw the High West up on their shelf, and said, "Hey, how's the High West selling?" And she said, we're more of a tequila place. It was kind of a taqueria sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
She said, we're more of a tequila place, but I try and sell it all the time because it's what I drink, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it is.
It is.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
a little pricey, but I'll tell you what, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's some good whiskey.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be there when you're sort of especially if your product is alcohol,
Yeah.
you are already standing in direct contravention of the Mormons, and
The last thing you care about is whether you are going to get some flack from the Mormons.
And let me tell you
about a
something:
T-shirt.
the Mormons fired the first shots in that war. Let's just be real about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Clearly.
Stevie, as in Nix, not Wonder. It's a cute way of
I
putting
like
it.
that.
She wrote into us. She said, "Hey guys, hope all is well. I just finished listening to episode 133 called Judeophilia. I loved at the end when you started talking about asking Jews what they believe. I will tell you that it is absolutely true that most Reformed Jews are either non-believers or they are in a state of pseudo-belief. The rest will probably give you an sort of answer. I'm a Jewish convert. In addition, I am an atheist. This fascinated me, Miss Stevie. I will go on. During my conversion, the Beit Din, the people who decide if you're allowed in or not, were aware of my non-belief. I may have coded it in other terms, like that I had doubt or whatever, but here's what's kind of cool. They absolutely encourage that. In fact, at the end of Shabbat services, the rabbi will often say something to the effect of, "And wherever you are in your Judaism, may your travels be fruitful," or something similar.
Right.
So it's not what we as Jews believe. It's not our Judaism. It's your Judaism. And she goes on to say, she converted because her family fled from Eastern Europe, came here, decided to say they were Catholic just to stay on the safe side and everything. Right. And just kept the Catholicism as their mantle. And then she did some research, found out that they were Jewish, and wanted to sort of get back in touch with that.
Fantastic.
A really interesting thing to do. I don't know that I understand that. I don't understand converting to a religion, though thou art not religious.
But if you were going to convert to any religion as a non-religious person, Judaism is probably one of the top of the list. Because it's not, especially like she's saying with like Reform Judaism, they're not terribly religious.
No.
It just is a religion. It's more of a community.
It's a community, and I understand wanting to be part of a community. I don't get your choices, I'm afraid, Stevie. I just don't get it. I mean, you and I know a person who converted to Judaism and is an atheist as well.
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing to do. I realized after you had said
who it was.
Well, I realized who it was after you said the thing.
Yeah. But she was an atheist before. She kind of got there after she converted.
Right. But she likes the community, I guess.
She loves the community and the tradition and the
and matzo ball soup.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that. Latkes.
I'm pretty sure she does.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hannah Rose wrote in. Last week we talked about psychics
Oh, yeah.
And she said she just wanted to tell a psychic story. She was at the Atlanta Gay Pride Festival where there was a group of Christian psychics who were giving free readings. Her friend wanted to have a reading done, so she went along with it. She says, I wanted to see if they could tell me anything about my sister who passed away suddenly in an ATV accident in 2001 at the age of 22. I was 13 at the time. She says the woman giving the reading was using, this is what interested me, was using woodland creature metaphors. And it was probably the worst psychic reading I had ever witnessed. She started describing a squirrel at one point. She says, I suppose the squirrel was supposed to be my sister, although I think a Wolverine totem would have been more accurate. Maybe I was the squirrel. What's great about this email is that she's doing exactly what psychics want you to do, which is take whatever they say and twist it until it makes sense in your world. She says, maybe I was the squirrel. That would make much more better sense. I love getting into other people's shit, and I'm a huge fan of climbing trees and screaming and flailing my limbs about at anyone I perceive as a threat. Then she said she was getting the image of a duck in a lake, and how this duck was extremely significant image for me in my future dealings. She said, my father's name is Wade, so yes, I would indeed deal with my dad in the future. She was 100% correct.
Wow. Also, yeah.
Yeah, she says, I've done astrology card readings and more tangible readings more tangible than this, and I know I'm a complete charlatan. I did it as a party trick for friends' birthdays. Not as a serious thing. Anyway, she thought we would get a kick out of that. And I did. The duck thing is brilliant. Like this woodland creature thing, if I ever do psychic readings, I'm totally going to go
Fantastic.
animals.
Yeah.
Because
you have to be really hippy-dippy.
Right, exactly. So, like, I'll put on a dreadlock wig first. And then I'll just be like, okay, so I'm
sorry,
getting...
you in dreads is not a good idea.
No white man should ever have dreadlocks. That is just a fact of the universe. It's just never good on any white person.
No. All right.
Anyway, and then Glenn wrote in because last week you almost did a story. You did a near miss of a story. Do you remember this? And the story was about Catholic priests with girlfriends and or wives.
Right.
Glenn wanted to clarify that in the Catholic faith, quote, he says, in the Catholic faith, priests from other religions in communion with the Holy See who were previously married and decided to convert to the Roman Church are allowed to keep their wife and family, as separating them would be against God's will rather than just against dogma.
Right.
Yeah, because divorce apparently is worse than a priest making sexy time.
Well, but that's a good point. It's the celibacy is part of dogma,
Right.
not doctrine.
Right. So it is Roman dogma, he says, that priests are not allowed to marry and is part of property ownership after death. The thought was to disallow the leaving of church property to a son or family upon death. So that's interesting.
Oh, that's a very interesting point, actually.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, thanks for the clarification on that, Glenn.
Yeah.
And that's that. Did we have a voicemail?
We have one voicemail,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna play it. It's a nice little story.
Hi, Frank and Dan. My name is Miranda from Ohio, and I've never called you guys before, but I just listened to your last podcast, and I had an interesting story to tell you about a psychic. And I was at the bar with one of my friends that I knew pretty well through other people, but didn't know them really personally, and ended up finding out that they are a tarot card reader on the side. And so I immediately jumped at the opportunity to grill him on some things about what he does, and found out that, kind of like what you guys were talking about, his mother was a psychic, and so he grew up in that atmosphere and believed it, and his mother trained him on how to read cards. And so I asked him about, what his religious beliefs were, and he acted like he didn't really believe in a god per se, but that he believed in an energy, a spiritual aspect, sort of mumbo jumbo. And I asked him about how accurate he is, and when he's giving people these readings, how trusting is he in his own ability to read. And he said that he believes that he's very accurate, and if he's not accurate, it's because people aren't trusting enough of him. And so there was a lot of back and forth of, it works all the time except for when it doesn't, and when it doesn't, it's not my fault, it's whoever this other person mentality is at the moment. And he was very honest when I sort of came at him and was just like, honestly, I really don't believe anything that you're telling me. Like, I don't think that you have any proof that any of this is working. And he's like, I understand your opinion and blah, blah, blah. And he's very, very positive response to my skepticism, but you can definitely tell that he genuinely believed it, which was something that I didn't really expect. So anyways, just wanted to tell you guys that story. I found it kind of interesting. And sending you love from the Nasty Natty, as I affectionately call it. See you guys later. Bye.
All right. Well, thanks, Miranda.
Ooh, Nasty Natty. That sounds...
Isn't that a beer?
I don't know, but it sounds sexy. Anyway, yeah, that's these psychics, of course, if it doesn't work, it's not their fault.
Nah, clearly not.
It's your fault.
No.
That's
So
how
it would never
works.
work on you, Miranda.
No.
It'd be clearly your fault.
Yeah.
You're yeah.
If you
But I
would
like
just
that you
open
also
your heart to it.
We're really honest about your skepticism.
Sure.
I like
I
that.
think that's fine. And of course they encounter that all the time, probably in more obnoxious forms than you were willing to.
Well, there's
be.
probably the Christian-y
Oh yeah.
obnoxious response.
Yes.
So
I'm sure.
anyways.
But I mean, as Hannah Rose said, there are Christian psychics.
yeah.
So there you go. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
And we do have some donors to thank, or rather a donor. Damien is now a monthly subscriber,
Thank you, Damien.
and we really appreciate that.
That is fantastic.
If you'd like to donate and make it so that it doesn't sound quite as pathetic that we only have one person to thank this week, you can do so by going to our Thank God I'm Atheist webpage and clicking on the donation
and
button.
there are all of the regular monthly subscriber donors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is that
who we need to
Are-
at least express
Oh, my-
gratitude to the group.
Oh my God, we're so
You know.
grateful. I mean, it really is helping us.
Yeah.
It's amazing. This
Right.
is not an easy endeavor, and it's it keeps us going to know that
Absolutely.
you guys support us like that.
So thank you.
I want to talk about one Miss Kate Kelly.
Yeah.
This is
It happened.
we've talked about her plenty.
Mm.
This is the activist,
Mm-hmm.
the woman, the head of the group Ordain Women,
Yes.
an LDS, a Mormon group that wanted women ordained to the priesthood of that church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the priesthood not only said no, they done give her the boot.
yeah.
She's out.
They have that authority.
They do. Well, it's their club. They can say who gets to join.
And the ladies are only second-class members of the
Well,
club.
they just have other duties. They just have other jobs.
Well-
Very, very important jobs that are
But
shittier.
men don't want to do.
Right. Like, I mean, if the men are very busy administering the church and healing the sick and all of that sort of
They
thing.
don't have time to clean the house.
No, who's
Clean
going
a
to
toilet?
vacuum?
How does he have time for that?
How does he have time for that?
The dishes? No.
That's not his job.
Waking up with the kid in the middle of the night?
Right.
Not his job.
Caring about the children in general.
Monetarily.
Yeah.
That's how dad shows
He
his
takes
love.
financial care, and she is barefoot and pregnant.
Yeah. 1950s.
It's
It's,
God's way.
Yeah.
I like to think of it
The
as
cleavers.
God's way. Well, Miss Kate Kelly does not like to think of that as God's way, but she has been proven wrong
How?
by being booted out of it.
Excommunicated.
Yeah, she. So what
that-
we wanted to talk about, because I mean we've talked about her. I hope that nobody's bored of this. It's literally like every major news outlet is talking about this right now.
Yeah.
But what fascinates me about this story, and the place that I kind of wanted to go today,
Hmm.
is this idea of being so desperate to be a part of a club that doesn't want you.
Yeah, I don't get that. Isn't there like a Groucho Marx thing?
Well, he's the opposite. I wouldn't belong to a club that would have me for a member,
Oh, shoot. Damn.
which is funnier.
It is funnier.
It's a lot less funny if you are still clinging to a club that won't have you for a
It's
member.
the opposite.
Right. So there was an interesting article written by our local religion beat coverage woman Peggy Fletcher Stack in the Salt Lake Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
An article about a woman named Lavina Fielding Anderson, a former colleague of my parents.
Okay.
Who they were all sort of the Mormon intelligentsia, the Mormon academics.
Yes. Historians. And
all.
such.
Yes. And Miss Anderson was Mrs. Anderson was part of a group that became to be what one shouldn't say affectionately known as, but colloquially known as the September Six. In the fall of 1993, 6 people were excommunicated from the church, ostensibly for apostasy, which is the same charge leveled against Miss Kelly. However, they were in this case it was stuff that they had published that was the problem. So Lavina, Miss Fielding Anderson, Mrs. Fielding Anderson, wrote an article for a journal that talked about ecclesiastical abuse,
Right.
and was basically well. Do you have the quote up that was where she was talking about the?
Yeah. Okay. So she says, I wrote an article for Dialogue, a journal of Mormon thought, that summarized 133 cases of LDS ecclesiastical abuse. Am I pleased to do better to care for the Mormon faithful? That came out in early 1993. In May, my stake president called me in about it. He didn't seem to know what footnotes are, so he thought I made the whole thing up. I assured him I did not. He then announced that I was not a member in good standing and could not use my temple recommend. And then she says, I wouldn't give it up, but I promised him I wouldn't use it.
Oh my God.
And I guess he went around and he called all the temples in Utah saying that she was not allowed in.
See, this is what's amazing. What's amazing here, and what's happening to some extent, to a large extent, is that these are men. These are men who are in charge of their local congregations. A stake president is basically in charge of a diocese,
right?
A grouping of local congregations. But
there's
these men have no theological training.
No.
They have no training in any of this. They generally they're just lay people who have enough money that they can give, basically that they can afford to work a second full-time job.
Right. And that they have enough money to have caught the attention of higher ups in the
other
church.
Successful businessmen in the church. But the point is that they are clearly so intellectually outclassed by these women.
Oh yeah.
And by men who are also intellectual. They're so out of their depth,
right?
When it comes to these issues, that they don't know what to do,
Mm.
and they're intimidated. They're intimidated by these uppity women who are so much smarter than they are, and who actually know the history,
right?
So of course they're going to kick them out. So yeah, Lavina Fielding Anderson was cordially invited not to be a Mormon anymore,
right?
Or rather, officially told she wasn't one,
right?
In '93, her response was to continue going to church.
Yeah.
Which she is allowed to do, but she's not doing it within the fellowship of the church.
Right. And so she would not be able to have a church calling, typically.
She would be counseled. She would
never be able to speak over the pulpit.
Right. She would be told not to, or it would be bad form for her to participate in the sacrament, which is their communion.
Right.
Their Eucharist.
In fact, more than bad form, she would probably be sternly talked to. about it.
Right. Well, yeah.
Because she could be asked to never come back. Which
It's kind of not what they do.
Right.
They just
But if somebody was like insisted on taking the sacrament and blah blah blah, I mean they could be asked to not return.
But this is not a shunning in it like the J-Dubs would do or whatever. You can keep going back, but what fascinates me,
rarely do people actually continue actively participating at church.
Right.
As a excommunicated.
Now, two other members
member
of the September 6th did go back to the church. They are now sort of rebaptized, or they're in full fellowship with the church.
Okay.
But Anderson isn't.
Yeah.
She's just continued to go to church this whole time.
Well, clearly she would have to admit that she was in the wrong,
which she wasn't.
Right.
So until the church makes overtures to bring her back themselves, she's in this amazing limbo.
Yeah.
I look at these people who are, who have been so roundly rejected by, on such fundamental grounds. So Kate Kelly clearly fundamentally believes that the church needs to look at this and isn't looking at it. Needs to look at the idea of ordination of women, and hasn't been looking at it and won't look at it, and so she pushes for it. Now her method of pushing, by like outside of Mormon standards,
pretty gentle.
It is the nicest, gentlest thing you've ever seen in your life. It's like, let's go to the temple during General Conference and just ask to be let in respectfully.
Right.
And when they turn us away, we'll respectfully walk away.
Right.
We're just forcing them to say no.
Right.
That's all we're doing. We're not marching.
Right.
We don't carry signs.
Throwing bottles of blood.
We're not writing angry letter op-eds or anything.
Graffitiing.
We're just going to
breaking windows.
Right. It's wearing pants to church sometimes, and which is not against the rules at all. And then it's walking to a door and asking to be let into a meeting that you'll be rejected from. That, by my standards, isn't even a protest, and they don't call it a protest. That's just
right.
It's a demonstration, or it's a something.
Demonstration's a tricky word too.
Yeah, it's true.
They're just showing up.
They're just sort of. Yeah.
Is it a rally? It's not even a rally. Rallies have another thing.
I mean, literally, it's a bunch of people meeting. They say a prayer. They sing a hymn. Then they wander over.
Here's the deal, Dan. We know that this is not a protest, and they're not calling it a protest.
Right.
Right. To the Mormon faithful,
right,
the butt-clenching, like, uncomfortableness of seeing it happen, and they perceive it as a direct assault.
Of course.
I mean, it is a protest.
By Mormon standards,
nasty protest.
By Mormon standards, this is outrageous.
Well, in a passive-aggressive culture,
exactly
anybody standing up and saying that they disagree,
right,
and that they would like to see things changed, is horrifying.
It's terrifying for these people. I love that you say passive aggressive, because then when someone takes even the mildest non-passive aggression route, like aggressive rather than passive aggressive, even on the mildest terms, everybody goes, "What? What is she doing? She is so. I wish we could say the words that are in my head, because she's being really bad."
Yeah.
And boy, if you read the comments in the articles in the Deseret News.
Oh dear God.
I think maybe we should have Mackenzie post a Deseret News article just so that people can go and just sort of peruse the comments section, because boy, I mean, it's not surprising to those of us who know the Mormon Church, but
right.
But the fact is that she's not. If you ask Miss Kelly, she's not angling for the church to ordain women. She's angling for the men in charge of the church to pray about it and to talk about it and to open that dialogue. That's what she would say she's asking for.
Right.
Not ordination, because she agrees with the church's dictum that that something like this would have to come from God.
So she's asking God to ordain women.
She's asking the church leaders
to ask God
whether or not that's a good idea, and to keep asking that question. This is how she gets around things. I mean, these are the backflips that you need to do, the contortions that need to happen to make something like this work, to make intellectual inquiry work within a Mormon context. But the thing is that, like, if you start to read the comments in the comments section of the Deseret News, which is the one that's owned by the church,
right,
they're baffled. Why does she think she can go against what the brethren say, and think she can escape being kicked out? Of course, she's going to be kicked out because the brethren asked her to stop, and she didn't.
Right.
That's apostasy. It's so clear.
Right.
I mean, to a Mormon mind, it's as cut and dry as it can get.
Yeah. She never how did she really truly step out of, like, in a real sense, how did she step out of bounds? She didn't find some holder of the priesthood to ordain her a member of the priesthood.
No.
She didn't, you know what I mean?
Church,
like her actual acts do not break any doctrinal, like,
except one.
That she didn't follow the brethren.
The brethren, she was asked to stop, and she didn't. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
The men told her what to do, and she didn't do it.
And just to point out, the scary thing of Mormonism, it's that. It's obedience to the brethren.
Right.
Period. That is the most important thing in Mormonism.
Right. What's amazing to me is that the Mormons have been making a lot of sort of dipping their toe into the notion of big tent Mormonism.
Right.
I mean, Elder Uchtdorf, one of their big, he's their heavy hitter when it comes to giving a good talk.
Yeah.
And you know, he's an apostle, and he gave a big talk. I think it was just last year, about basically, I mean, what came to be termed big tent Mormonism. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome.
Right. Right.
Until you do something like this.
Well, everyone's welcome as long as they follow the brethren.
Right.
As long as they follow the rules.
There are
come one, come all.
The children sing songs about following the rules.
Yeah.
Follow the prophet. Do, 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 do. It is like you are indoctrinated into this from the jump.
Oh, yeah. And that Follow the Prophet song, that was not one that we sang.
Oh, no.
As kids.
Oh, really?
That's a new one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it, though.
It might, I don't know, maybe it was in the songbook, but we never, ever, ever, ever sang it.
Huh.
And that one struck me as a new one.
I don't know how new it is. I don't know why I would have heard it if I didn't sing it as a kid.
Well, you've been to churchy things.
Yeah, I guess
where the kids probably were up because of your wife's family.
But again, sorry, I got off track a little bit, but what I wanted to talk about is why the fuck is she so interested in staying?
Yeah.
I saw one interesting comment.
She believes it. In her heart, she believes it.
I just
and she I'm assuming that this is her heritage.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's her culture.
That's an assumption. I don't know. But that's why a lot of people end up holding on to Mormonism is because their entire families are Mormon.
Right. Everything.
You look at my family. Hey, it's easy for me to get out. Right.
Right. Only your parents and your siblings are really in.
Well, my sister.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
To me, I think, I mean, what I found, and I don't know why I'm different, because my family has been in it for generation after generation.
Yeah.
You know, my cousins are all,
but your parents
to a greater or lesser extent.
I mean, obviously very steeped in Mormonism, but not.
But they were the intellectuals
exactly.
that were looking at the real history. They were the ones. They were the ones like Levina Fielding Anderson,
right,
who were there.
And that level of honesty,
right.
I mean, I
probably made it easier for me to leave.
Right.
It was not easy when my mom was facing some really tough questions about it, it was not easy for her to ask those questions.
But she was raised in a more traditional Mormon setting, right?
Very much so. So I mean, her mom was like strict,
Right.
and her dad was a stake president, and
Yeah.
all of those things. I guess I just wonder about. I wonder about sort of this. It led me to to do a Google search for why women stay in abusive marriages.
Oh, wow.
Because to me, this is like, it's almost to that level. It's
Right.
almost, the psychology strikes me as similar.
Right.
And when I was looking at why women stay in abusive marriages, a lot of those same issues came up. The fact that the family will reject, the worry that the family will reject you if you leave.
Right.
Fear of not having a community afterwards, and all of this sort of thing.
Right.
I believe there's more to it with this,
Right.
with the religious thing, especially if you have believed your whole life that there is truth to the stories.
Right. Well, I mean,
That God actually does, that God is in charge of this whole thing.
admitting to yourself that you're the structure around
Mhm.
which you've built your life is wrong is incredibly hard.
Right. I guess what's interesting to me is that my assumption has been that if Kate Kelly was excommunicated, and we all knew she was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
I assumed that over time she would stop wanting to go back.
Right.
It would be enough. Like me, I needed something to prod me to ask deeper questions from an outside perspective,
Right.
rather than trying to ask the questions from within,
Right.
from the point of view of belief, asking the questions from the point of view of, from genuinely asking the questions.
Right.
And I guess I assumed that this would be a moment, maybe after she's done reeling from all of this,
Mm-hmm.
it would be an opportunity for her to do the same. But this story on Lavina Fielding Anderson just has my mind blown.
Well, see, here's the deal. I mean, you brought up, it's really interesting that your mind went to women in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
Because the flip side is that these are people in an abusive religion,
Yeah.
right? And so
I think so.
yeah, I mean, you ask what, I mean, she paid the ultimate price in her mind, right? Like she's in like hot water.
Yeah.
Whether or not she admits it to herself, but in her construct of the universe, she knows she's good with God, or at least she thinks she is. But there's got to be some level of doubt there. Don't you think? I mean,
Absolutely.
just,
She was kicked out of the church. The
Yeah.
church that she was trying to save.
she could not square herself with it.
Right.
She could not figure out how to work with these men who she does believe are called of God.
Right.
And they're in the middle of one of their human mistakes, which is costing her membership. But how does she square that?
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, I really think that like, how, like, people, it's a really interesting thing. Like, people rarely truly regret the decisions they made in their life.
Mm.
You usually figure out a way to make good with the decisions that you made.
Right.
Oh, I'm so happy I never, that, it was such a good job opportunity, but right. I'm really happy with where I am right now.
Right.
I can't imagine what my life would be like had I done that other thing.
Right.
I
I don't regret not going to grad school because I love where I am now.
Yeah, exactly. When you have absolutely no idea what your life would have been like.
Right.
And
Exactly.
how much more wonderful perhaps your life would have been.
Sure.
Who knows? Right.
Who does know?
Right. And so but we always figure out a way to make things work just for our own
Well, positive people do.
happiness.
There are plenty of negative people who regret everything.
Well, maybe.
My life would have been so much better if I had blah, blah, blah. If only I had blah, 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 then my
Yeah,
life.
I mean, there are regrets.
I think there
people
are those
do
people.
have regrets. But nonetheless, she clearly is in the camp of I need to be, I don't regret my decisions.
Yeah.
This is where I am.
She's
I
solid.
brought myself here.
She knows she believes in her cause still.
Yeah.
And she believes that she believes she's still a Mormon. She believes that she is still part of it, even though the organization has rejected her. I don't know.
Her Relief Society president,
Which is the Relief Society is the woman's auxiliary organization.
has I mean, it would be weird. The Relief Society president would not be able to call her to be like a teacher, and that would be weird.
Wait, which her are we talking about?
Lavina.
Okay.
So she is a permanent substitute pianist in the Relief Society.
I guess that's cute.
It's cute.
It's not a calling. It's not a church calling. But frankly, women can't be ordained in.
No. Being a pianist is a calling.
I guess it is.
You can be the ward pianist. You can be the Relief Society president. I was the priesthood pianist.
Right. It is funny, you guys. Explaining Mormonism can be exhausting because
you're just supposed to have a task. You're supposed to have a thing.
Everybody has
you
a
contribute.
job, right? You don't always have one, but when when other religions think of a calling,
right?
It's like you were called of God to go forth and blah blah blah.
Right.
In Mormonism, you might have been called of God to be to do all of the accounting for the ward.
Right. You are a volunteer.
Yes.
I mean, what it is you are a volunteer for your local congregation.
You are called of God to teach the 6-year-olds. Good luck.
Having a calling was always very important in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of it. Like, you say that, like, oh, you don't have to have a calling. And I'm like, I don't know of a time when either of my parents didn't have a calling.
Right.
Unless we were, like, new to a ward.
Yeah.
And then for 2 weeks,
right.
Maybe they wouldn't have a calling.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure my parents were eagerly saying things to the bishop like, oh, we're looking forward to getting involved.
Yeah.
And helping out however we can. And, however we can help. I mean,
give me my chores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I it's not something that I understand. I would love it if other people have insights to share about, staying in a religion for longer than you probably should have. Sticking with your religion even through stuff that wasn't working, that clearly wasn't working.
Yeah.
Especially if your religion has kicked you out.
Doesn't want you anymore.
And you're still sticking around.
They don't want you.
Although the Mormons have clever wordings of things. So the excommunication has been worded by Mormons as in this case, as being an invitation to repent. You can come back when you're a good little obedient girl.
Yeah. You need to repent.
You need to repent.
You need to change your ways.
Stop using that brain, Kate Kelly. It's ruining everything. Cut it out.
Oh, poor dear.
Anyway, so write to us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page. You'll be able to see all of the stuff from today's episode throughout the week as Mackenzie posts it there.
Facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Yeah, that's where you do it.
Yeah.
Good job.
And check out the Twitter at TGIAtheist as well. And, of course, there's thankgodimatheist.com. It's worth checking out.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to Mackenzie for all the help with Facebook.
Thanks to Red Rock Hot Club for the music that we love to play every week. And thanks to you all for listening.
We appreciate you.
Yep.
Okay, bye-bye.